Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese episode 552. I am your Joe Dix, joined by Matt Sellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games. Brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. This week, we're discussing and reviewing and ranking Super Mario Kart. Matt, the developers of this game, while making it, did not know it was going to be a Mario game. And before banana peels were added to the game, they used oil cans that would spill out, and if you drove over them, you would spin out in circles. What item would you add to this game from the real world that would change it forever?
A pothole.
Well, the correct answer we were looking for was gun, but I guess pothole. Hey, they made Super Mario 64 with a shotgun. Why can't you give Mario Kart one? Pothole would be good if you could cause one, because, you know, I think a big part of this series is learning the tracks and knowing your line and all of that stuff. And yeah, if you can throw that off for somebody, I think that would work well. Matt, every week when we do this show, we rank this on something we call the list. And listeners, you can check out the list over at thefreecheese.com/the list. Super Mario Kart marks the 91st game added to the list. Of course, we'll do that at the end of the episode. Before then, we're going to talk about why we picked the game, what we thought of the game, and all of that. But first, let's break it down. Matt, Super Mario Kart, developed by Nintendo EAD, published by Nintendo, released on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System in North America on September 1st, 1992. Back of the box reads, "Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines. The Super Mario Go-Kart Park is open for fun. Master the unique driving styles of Mario, Luigi, and the Princess. Drag with Donkey Kong Jr., crash with the King of the Koopas. Lock fenders with Yoshi. You can race head-to-head with a friend or against the computer in great split-screen Mode 7 graphics. Do you have what it takes to win the Gold Cup in the challenging Star Circuit? It's as much fun to drive as it is to win. Feel like a bit less speed and a lot more strategy? Take a crack at the battle mode. In 4 different maze-like courses, you'll use Koopa Shells, Banana Peels, Superstars, and other wacky weapons to burst your opponent's target balloons and triumph. 2 games in 1, Mario Grand Prix and Battle Mode, 8 familiar characters, 20 different tracks, 3 different skill levels, and battery-backed memory saves your best times." Matt, why Super Mario Kart?
No, you tell me.
Great question. I did add Super Mario Kart to the list this year. This was a weird addition for me. One, because I did not historically like this game at all. 2, we already have a Mario Kart game on the list, so we didn't need one.
Best one. Can't top it. Ever.
But also, I kind of, as you'll recall, I made a list of 600 or so games that were
somewhere in there
meant to be on the list for this year for me. This was never on my original list. This got added in as I started to theme out my selection and find games that complemented my Wii Sports Killers and paired well together. And as I kind of made the crazy flowchart that I made, which, do we still have a visual of for you and I to reference? I don't think we have it in this spreadsheet.
I have it.
I think the purest form of connectivity I could find with Super Mario Kart, or really the reason why Super Mario Kart landed on my list, is there's a game we'll talk about later in July, and we're not being as secretive with the games that we're covering this year, but I'll save it for later on, but I'll say that in July we're covering one. Or July we're doing a lot of fighting game or fighting game adjacent titles. And Mario Kart, Super Mario Kart specifically, to me, it's the first crossover video game. It was the first game that got characters from different franchises and put them all together in one thing. And I think you can draw a direct line from something like Super Mario Kart to Smash Brothers and then to everything else that came after. Would we have Tifa in Apex Legends if we did not have Super Mario Kart? I don't think so. And, for that, we're grateful. But that was the big thing. The crossover element of it. I liked that idea of it. For me, I try to break up the games that I'm doing each year. I wasn't so great about it early, but I think now that we're in our third year of this sort of list building style of podcast, I try to choose unique platforms per game. So, and I don't think I'm probably wrong about that, but besides any multi-platform things, I don't think I had anything Super Nintendo specific, because it was not, not my childhood console of that era, so I don't have the strongest relationship with those games. So that was another one. I just kind of wanted that kind of thing, but I do seem to remember when this came up in my presentation, because listener, what we do when we build these lists is we come up with what we're nominating for the list for the season, and then we sit down and we have a very serious presentation amongst ourselves of what we're planning to do. But I watch carefully the reactions that I get when presenting games on the list, and I feel like when this one came up, I do recall you at least appearing pleasantly surprised. Why? Do you remember why you felt that, or if you felt that at all? Did I read into it?
No, I think one, Super Nintendo, but two, because of you, and two, this Mario Kart I kind of forget about. Yeah, it's like everyone talked Mario Kart 64, Mario Kart 64, Mario Kart 64. Not the first one. Much like, I don't know, I feel like Smash Bros. Smash Bros. Like Melee, Smash Melee, Smash Melee. I was like, what was it the first one?
Yeah. Yeah, no one goes back to this one, I don't think. And every time I tried to, like, because, this is my review on the website, which you can check out over at thefreecheese.com on the podcast episode or the post for this podcast episode. But I talk about it there, and I think, like, most game series, I think it often comes up when we talk about Final Fantasy. I think that's, like, the go-to, at least for me and many others. But the idea that, like, the first one you played is your favorite one, and I think that just goes for games in any franchise, right? Like, you're always going to have an affinity for the thing that made you fall in love with the franchise. And I think that's why, like, what was your first Mario Kart, Matt?
This one.
Oh, all right. Well, shoot me. Yeah, I guess you just deflated that balloon.
Sorry.
You hit me with a green shell. But mine was Mario Kart 64, and I spent the most time with Mario Kart 64. How about that?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I would also, like, the Final Fantasy thing rings true. I would think. Even though I never beat 7, it's like, I don't know, nostalgia and I don't know, everything's wrapped up in that experience that I have with it.
Yeah, and I think, like, there's something to that, and so for this, whenever I would go to friends' houses who, now granted, like, by the time I'm playing Super Mario Kart, it's going to be in an era, like, post 64, post Double Dash, where I'm going to people's houses who are, like, pulling out the old Super Nintendo they had. You know what I mean? Like, it's that thing that's, like, right now I feel like the Super Nintendo is, like, still, in today's era, I feel like people view these things with much more adoration than they did when we were, say, in high school, middle school. Because back then it was just, like, an old toy, where now it's a thing I must collect and preserve and whatever. Point is, when Super Mario Kart would come up, I hated it. I, like, did not like playing it. The split screen is weird, because even though you are playing single player, right? Like you have the map at the bottom. It's not always like a full screen experience. It's not, yeah, it's just a different vibe. And it doesn't feel the same as like a 3D kart racer does. So yeah, I never loved this one. So when was the first time you played this? This was your first one.
As a kid, I don't remember a terrible lot of this. I just remember, I like briefly remember it being hard as nails, and I don't know. In the start of like Bowser's Castle and like Haunted Boo maps, you know, and you're like your Mario Circuit. Like I remember, like whenever I see those, like, you know, they're made in a way to be a reminder of this. But I remember the tracks, I would say, of this, including and not limited to One Rainbow Road.
Yeah, I forgot about the Rainbow Road in this one. I don't remember.
It's basic compared to Rainbow Road nowadays.
Oh yeah. It's a far cry from the other ones, but the thing I like about it is that it's still I think overall, and this kind of applies to everything in Super Mario Kart, but the foundation that they established with Super Mario Kart is still Mario Kart. It's evolved. There's bikes now. There's gravity. There's all sorts of
boats.
Things. There's
not even they're underwater like submarines.
Yeah, right. Like, but you know, the core things are here, and like Rainbow Road makes its appearance in every game. The standard items, and we'll jump into some of this stuff in more detail, but you know, all this stuff was kind of here and established
small
from the start.
Circular maps started here.
Yeah. Yes. Which
7 laps
to the worst map in the history of the game. I don't remember if I played this on Virtual Console or not. I might have. But honestly, this game I did not actually like until it released on the Nintendo Switch online. And I picked up that Super Nintendo Switch controller, you know, the Bluetooth one they put out. And I never so this would have been like 2019, I guess, when they put that thing out and I got that controller, and like I remember just kind of spending some time poking around with the library of Super Nintendo games on that platform, and I just turned this on one night knowing that I don't like this game, but I was like, you know, I don't think I've ever like tried to play it. I usually would approach this game, play a few rounds, and then say, ugh, I'm gonna go play A Link to the Past or something else on Super Nintendo that's good. But I just sat down and I just played cup after cup after cup and really started to get the nuance of it and really, really came to like it. And now, like, I'll play it all the time. It was really fun to go back to even for this, like, in a more review capacity. But what about you? Returning it to it now, did you have a different...
Again, I remember, like, the toughest... like I don't remember it being hard. I just remember me struggling. And so, in kind of like, you know, I've grown up now. I'm a more mature player. I've platinumed all these From Software games. I'm like, all right, this can't be that hard. I was wrong. No, I really haven't played it since probably having a Super Nintendo hooked up at some point in my household, which has probably been not 20 years, close to it. But you know, coming back to it, it's tough. And it's a weird drive. Like, it makes sense, and when you like, if you know the development, like the Mode 7 and the way it drives, knowing that, like, it makes sense why it plays the way it does. But you know, you're just driving the controller coming off of 8 or Double Dash, you know, pretty much any of the other ones. This is not your average Mario Kart.
No, not at all. And I think another problem I always had, like, I don't know that this is inherently more difficult, but to your point, I think there's a definite... It might be. I'm not saying that it's not, but it might also be an illusion of difficulty, because feel like I got so good at the other ones that it was so easy to run through the Grand Prix and just get first place every time. And just, you're just battling yourself at that point to see if you can get your times lower. Where this one, you have to work for your placement.
The difficulty comes in the GPs and having to finish in the top 4. That's where the difficulty's at. Because in any other Mario Kart game, if it's a bad track, you had a bad race, you eat it, and then you just move on, and you probably still have a chance. Even if you fuck up one race in a Grand Prix, there's usually a chance you can still get first.
Yeah, I think that's yes. This one, it's like you've got to really, really nail it. Do you have a typical go-to character in any Mario Kart game, and is that the same here?
Ooh, no, they switch. I would say I probably use Yoshi. I probably used Toad the most growing up, but I found myself using Yoshi a little bit more. That was another thing, though. As a kid, I certainly did not know the karts had different stats. I thought it was just select your character and be on your way. I did not know there was a deeper thing here.
Yeah.
Which,
you mean in this
again,
game or the later games with other karts?
Oh no, this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never knew that. And they don't show it really either. It's all under the hood.
Yeah, there's some stuff in the manual. Did you take a look inside the manual at all?
I should have looked at the manual.
It's
one of those cocky. I was cocky. I played as a kid. I only have a manual.
So no, I honestly like the first time I played this. The 30 times I played this, I never did. So they break it down in the manual. There are 8 kart drivers, and there are 4 types of kart drivers. It's saying the manual states if each player picks the same type of driver in 2-player mode, the race should be very close. So they break them down into categories. Category number 1, the bros. This is your standard performance category. It's Mario and Luigi. Then you've got the Dragon and the Lady, or the fast acceleration group, Princess and Yoshi. Then you've got the Showdown, the high top speed, Bowser and Donkey Kong Jr. The small guys, good control group, Koopa Troopa and Toad. There's a whole performance chart in here as well. And they show you specifically how each grouping will perform across like the different areas in the game, like how they perform on Choco Island, how they perform on Vanilla Lake, etc. Yeah, it turns out like the best advantage, I think, is to play as, like, if you just kind of quick glance at this, it's either to play as Koopa Troopa and Toad or Yoshi and Peach. Those seem to be the better pairings. I think Yoshi and Peach are going to be the better ones, which makes sense because I usually play as Luigi, and I was constantly battling against Yoshi for that first place run.
And just using my experience from later Mario Karts, I've always like taken like the fast acceleration car. So I kind of did the equivalent when I'm revisiting this.
Yeah, I'm happy that that there's this much nuance to the characters, but I never knew it, and yeah, it was surprising to learn that big of a breakdown, because you're right, it's not in the game at all. Like, there's no, you have that in, like, you know, I think a lot of listeners with Switch probably played Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and like right there you can see, not necessarily with the racers, but with your
cart selection.
Yeah, cart selection, the way you combine your tires with your parachute or whatever, you can see the breakdown of how it works. But yeah, it's not in the game, in the manual only. Another piece in the manual that makes a difference is coin collection. So if you collect 10 coins, that maximizes your speed. Anything over 10 is just surplus. but having 10 coins speeds you up. And then there's different weights for coin loss depending on things that happen. It's like, it's all right there in the manual, but yeah, you'd never know it from the game. The thing that's surprising to me is like how nuanced just this Super Nintendo game is, right? Like there's so much technique that goes into knowing who to play, why to play them, when to play them. And there's some master tips. Let's see if I guess, let me try this. Do you have any master tips? Playing this game, what would you recommend people do to get good at racing?
Lay off the gas in corners.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. I think that's like the only thing, because I think that's my problem is I always play every Mario Kart game. I play it like I play Mario Kart 64, which is to jump and then power slide every turn. And you can, but like,
burn out on power slides in this game after so long.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't work the same way. Here's the master tips according to the manual. If you are skidding in a corner, let up on the gas to regain control. These carts cannot go in reverse. If you need to turn around, hop with the L and R buttons.
Well, that explains what happens the other day.
One. You cannot hop over obstacles such as banana peels, use a feather, and jump over them. If you fall into the water, you can still move slowly, but never fear, I will rescue you with my trusty fishing pole. Even if you fall off the edge of a Ghost Valley track or into the lava on one of the Bowser Castle tracks, I'll quickly reel you in to safety. Apparently, Lakitu is the master.
Yeah, that's what I was going to...
We switched to first person. Items cannot be picked up when you are off the ground. If you race well enough in the time trials, then choose the same course again, you may be able to race against yourself. If you're going the wrong way, I will swoop onto the screen with a yellow X flag, and there's a special challenge waiting for you if you can get the gold trophy in the 100cc Special Cup. Did you get the special challenge, Matt?
I sure did.
You did get the special challenge.
To get the Special Cup, right?
Oh, is that how he's... No, special challenge if you get the gold trophy in the 100cc Special Cup.
Oh, I think I did everything 100cc. I just couldn't do 150.
Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah.
I think.
Unlocking 150 is the special, the thing you get for...
Yeah. I mean, I definitely did. I remember doing the Special Cup all the way through. I didn't like give up right away. I think it was 150cc. It was like, oh god.
Yeah. No, it's brutal in this game. Now, how about modern? I know this is not relevant to this game, but modern, have you tried the 200cc stuff?
I was starting to get into it. I liked the idea of it. I just didn't play it enough.
It's a totally different game. Like
you have to hit the brake in a Mario Kart game, which is wild.
Yeah, not something I consider or yeah.
I had not played any post new era of Matt over here though.
Does your racing wheel hook up to the Switch?
No, it doesn't.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty positive.
All right, fair enough. There might be a way. There's got to be a Brook adapter out there. Give me a couple minutes on a Discord.
We're talking about pies. We'll just hook a pie 2 ways. Get it to talk.
We can make something work, I think. So the gift that keeps on giving, Iwata asks, if you've not read any of the Iwata asks, they are a treasure trove of just historical deep dives into video game history with the late Satoru Iwata. He interviewed a ton of people through the Wii era, from starting in the Wii era through the 3DS and Wii U era. And during the discussion on Mario Kart for Wii, I pulled a quote here, a couple of lines back and forth. It's we've got originally the development of Super Mario Kart began with the idea of creating a two-player racing game in contrast to the single-player gameplay of F-Zero. Of course, F-Zero debuted on Super Nintendo as a launch title, but it was a single-player game. Miyamoto interjects and says, so there's no confusion, however, I should point out that we didn't set out to create a two-player version of F-Zero. We set out to make a game where we could display the game screen for two players at the same time. And then Kono adds, with more than one player, it would have been impossible to illustrate the high speeds of F-Zero. I like this part. Iwata asks, why did you decide on using Mario? And Kono says, well, in the very first prototype, there was a guy in overalls sitting in the cart. That's it. Yeah. Sorry, I said Kono. It's Hideki Kono, co-director on this game, was having this interview with Iwata and Miyamoto. But yeah, that was it. They had a dude in overalls who was sitting in the cart when they were prototyping it, so they said, oh, maybe we should make a Mario. And then slowly, how do you pad out the Mario roster? You add in his friends.
God,
and enemies.
Just one small, let's say Mario.
That's it.
Now you have the biggest selling franchise on Wii. Is it Mario Kart 8 still?
Every week, dude. If you, especially in Japan, if you look up the Famitsu reports the weekly sales numbers, if you look it up, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe still selling top 10 every week in Japan. It's crazy.
Wild.
Who doesn't own it? You know what I mean?
My sister might own it. She has a Switch. I think she played it twice, and I think she has the Mario Kart 8 edition.
I don't know how it's still, but it's still making plenty of money. We made our Switch predictions at the beginning of the year. Go check that episode out. But yeah, to not have a new Mario Kart game would be wild. Another element of this game I was surprised to learn is the rival system. Are you familiar with the rival system?
Not, at least not in its name, like proper name.
It's basically like how all of the characters. I didn't realize there was an actual like math to how the characters are lined up in the game. So if you play as Mario, then like the order in which you'll come up against people, it's Donkey Kong, Princess Peach, Yoshi, Luigi, Toad, Bowser, Koopa Troopa. So that's why for me, playing as Luigi, Yoshi was always right there as the very fast character for me. It's always, so it's that. So if you played as Yoshi, right, it seems like you...
Yep, Koopa,
yep.
Koopa, then getting past DK's fat ass. God, it's the same size cart. Feels so much bigger.
Yes. It's a wider sprite, man. Yeah. Do you have a favorite course in Super Mario Kart?
It's funny, we come kind of full circle. When we were talking about Super Mario Galaxy, I always have an appeal to the Boo levels.
Yeah.
And I like I just like the aesthetic. It's like wooden floors. I like the music. It's a different beside like Donut. What's it? Donut Land,
Plains.
Donut Plains, and like Mario Circuit. Like you got your asphalt or dirt and green all around with all the different colors and stuff, and then you just go to Ghost Valley, and it's a different vibe.
Yeah, pitch black. It's like a haunted boardwalk. No, I'm with you.
Because you get a Ghost Valley before Bowser's Castle too.
Yeah.
So I think like just as a kid, as like that stark difference, seeing that, and I might have been losing lives at this point, so I might didn't see Bowser Castle as much.
No, yeah, for sure. It's easy. I mean, Ghost Valley especially, you can fall off the edge so easily. Yeah, the music feels right in these. It's a haunted little place. It feels like a Scooby-Doo cartoon inside of a Mario Kart level, for sure. Items. So, the one thing we didn't talk about with this game so far, I think we've kind of assumed a lot of the listeners' familiarity with Mario Kart. But let's pull it back a bit. So Mario Kart generally, it's a kart racing video game where you choose one of 8 characters and you race against them in a series of races. But the thing that changes it up is that each stage is littered with question blocks. And running over one of those, you will unlock a randomized item. Those items are the banana peel, the green shell, the red shell, the feather, the mushroom, the star, the ghost, coin, lightning bolt, and then you don't really have these, but the egg, the fireball, and the poison mushroom can appear on the track if certain, Yoshi will throw eggs if he's computer based. Bowser will. He doesn't breathe the fireball. It comes out of the back of his cart, so I'll let you figure that one out. But he drops a fireball behind him, and then Toad and Princess Peach will drop a poison mushroom at you. Favorite Mario Kart item?
I'm a little... all time or in this game?
Is it a different answer?
Yes.
I guess, what's this game first?
I think a green shell, because picking off from afar. It's still satisfying.
That's solid. Yeah, I think. No, I'll go red shell. I liked the ghost in battle mode. It's only in battle mode or a head-to-head race, but yeah. But yeah, I like red shell, and I like red shell universally. That's kind of my favorite across the board. What about you? What's yours in another Mario Kart game?
The giant fucking banana.
Oh yeah, it's a shame they haven't brought back some of that wilder, weird stuff from Double Dash, but we did a whole episode on Double Dash that you can go listen to, listener. So if you're curious on our thoughts on that one, go check it out. But again, like all staples here in the Mario Kart. I guess those 3, kind of random, the egg, the fireball, and the poison mushroom, they're not necessarily prevalent throughout the Mario Kart series, but everything else has been here since the beginning. A lot of these stage themes and things like that have been here since the beginning. I'm curious, this was a few years into the life of the Super Nintendo. Obviously, it was meant to take what the launch title did and do it, a little bit differently. Give a player who had 2 controllers a purpose for those 2 controller ports. So I think, from a first-party perspective, Nintendo, this is like a big, important game in terms of having something multiplayer to play on the system. How do you think it compares to something like Super Mario World as sort of a game itself, or just a definition of the Super Nintendo? Do you feel like it's as synonymous with the system?
Super Nintendo, no. But I think the legend grows as time goes along. And I think our Mario Kart 8 numbers, I think, show that, like, I think Mario Kart's a bigger franchise at this point.
How does this compare to Wii Sports?
If Wii Sports is just such a there at the right time kind of moment. Not in the way that Animal Crossing in 2020, but like it was the first game everyone put in their Wii, and that's not necessarily a guarantee with any of the other consoles.
Yeah. Do you think this does for Super Nintendo what Wii Sports did for Wii? If it were packed in, if everybody had the access to it, but like, you know.
I mean, maybe, but I don't know. I just think the Wii Sports thing was very much like you know how to bowl, you do the motion with the arm. Hey, look, let's get grandpa and grandma in on the fun. This, I think you can do it, but this is still like a traditional video game. I mean, like, yes, it's the plumber from the game that my grandson plays, sure, but it's still like you're still holding a controller, so I had to hit a B button. You still kind of have to learn to jump and power. Like, there's more mechanics than just hold B, let go.
Well, I guess looking at, I think with how intuitive Wii Sports was, or how integrated it was with the use of that controller, do you feel like this one kind of captures the capability of the Super Nintendo in a similar fashion? You've got Mode 7 adoption, you've got, you know, use of a good number of the buttons in the game.
Yeah, the Mode 7 thing for sure. That such like a weird Super Nintendo era when you look at some of those games. In terms of controller use, you know, really, let's just be honest, you were hitting B. Because power slide is not that good in this game. I'm sure there's a few corners that I don't know. Yes, I know you do the power slide for the lap glitch. Right, again, but I'm not lap glitching, you know, I'm not doing any of that. So, I mean, how much are you using RNL?
Yeah.
And he left buttons on the table and you can't reverse. So.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. That could have been why, for sure. Something. In terms of game modes, we talked a bit about, you know, the progression, unlocking things. You have 50cc, 100cc, and eventually you unlock 150cc. Those are all done through the Mario Kart GP, the main mode in Super Mario Kart, where you race against. It's 8. All 8 characters are always going to be in every race. So whether it's you and 7 computer players, or you and a friend can play against 6 computer players. You know, you work your way through a best of 4 races. I'm sorry, 5 races per cup. Thank you. I like know that in this game it's 5, and I still say yeah. And it happened.
It's tradition.
I know every single cup that I played through, I would remember at the 5th race, oh right, there's 5, and then I'd do another cup, and I'd get to the 4th race, and I'm like, all right, final race, and I'd get done, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's a 5th race. That is very different. You have time trials. This is for one player only. But it's exactly what it sounds like. You try and run through the stage as quickly as possible to log your time. There's match race, which lets 2 players go head to head alone, with on any course in the game. So you're not necessarily racing for best of a series. You're just, well, you kind of are, but it's not a set 5. It's you play as many rounds as you want to, just sort of kind of trading off wins and losses. And the neat thing is the loser chooses where you go next. So, you know, you kind of gain a little advantage if you want to. And then finally there's battle mode, which has also become, I mean, a staple in the series, which I think, like, it's different. You wouldn't think, it's such a unique mode to me, battle mode. Like, think of a race kart or a go-kart game, a racing game, like, you kind of know what you expect, and like, okay, well, we're going to strap balloons to the back of them, and you're going to throw things at each other. See who wins.
This is Twisted Metal before Twisted Metal.
Yeah, dude. Yes, 100%. The goal in this one is your opponent will have 3 balloons. Pop those 3 balloons with items, and you win. Battle mode has 4 stages in this game. There's an ice stage. There's the other three are really kind of similar. They're just different shapes, but there's one that kind of resembles like a donut plains. There's another one that kind of has like a Koopa Beach color scheme, but it's not quite beachy. And then a third one that's just like straight right angles. They're just kind of like four corners of right angles all layered and everything. So
they all are on the different surfaces, though. It's like asphalt versus ice versus, I guess that's sand, and then your like the dirt trail from the donut plains.
And the one neat thing, I mean, we try to find ways we can play games together where we can, where it makes sense for games in the list. But that was a nice thing about the modern era. Nintendo's made it possible to play this game online via the Switch, so we got to do that. We had one weird hang up where you thought I was just like chatting and not paying attention to the game anymore and didn't care about finishing, and I thought the exact same thing about you, and I was like, well, whatever, he knew he lost, so I guess he just kind of drove into a corner. But no, something happened weird with our session where but I think that's neat. I mean, that's not really reflective of the game itself, but I think it's cool that you can still play that game with friends online in a modern era. I've done that very few times with the Nintendo Switch, and I fear saying that because I don't want that feature to go away. I think it's neat that we can play these classic games online together, even though I've done it very few times. But I don't want it to not be a thing. What do you see here that still exists in Mario Kart? And what do you think that Mario Kart could learn by looking back at this original game?
I think I even mentioned it in my review. Like, you see the roots of the Mario Kart franchise. Like, you start to see the theming of certain levels that you're going to see in every Mario Kart. Like, it's almost like a main event now for me. Like, to see the Bowser Castle, the mansion level, like the Boo level. Like, it's a part of it now for me. Again, bare bones, but it's the start of, I mean, the whole reason you put it on here is the crossover. It's, you have Yoshi and Mario and everyone's here, kind of back in the Super Nintendo days, everyone's here. And then also just like the sheer randomness from race to race. Like, you can play, and this is every Mario going forward. You can play the same race 5 times, maybe even 10 times, and maybe you finish first 8 of the 10 times, but the way you got to first 8 of the 10 times is going to be completely different, just because of the way the item randomness is, CPU, what they're doing to one another. And then, this game doesn't have it, but that blasted blue shell from hell comes in later games, and that certainly throws a wrench into everyone's plans as a front runner. But you can start to get that here. It's a little bit different because the CPU has their own items. They don't really pick up their own items, so not quite the same as you would see in others, but still, you get it. And just the levels themselves have randomness to it. Like with the perfect example, like the Gophers that jump out. Like, it's not really. I mean, I guess there's a set pattern, but like, it doesn't seem like a set pattern as you're going by them. Like the 10-second intervals that you're about to prepare to go by them. So, no, I think those 3 key things almost kind of makes up a Mario Kart in a way, and that's still the backbone of Mario Kart today.
Now, here, 2024, did you like Super Mario Kart?
It's fine. No, I think I like when it's one of those ones where when we break down our scoring, it's going to end up working out better because it's broken down. It's a little weird to play when you're like to compare to like every other karting game. I'm not just talking about Mario Kart either. Like every other karting game you kind of play from this point forward. This plays a little bit weird. I think it's just because of the Mode 7 and some stuff like that. But like I don't know, visually, I like the way this. I think it still looks great visually. What was the other? Oh, and the music's still iconic. Like I've that the two main menu songs. That transitions forever in my mind. Like the press start menu, they then transition into the character select screen. Like it's like all a high beat, and then it's like do 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 do. I will forever remember that, hum it. Like if I ever hear it in another Mario Kart.
The best part of that whole scene at the beginning is the push B. It's my favorite thing, just rolling by. But every time I play the game, I always hit A, because Nintendo buttons, you hit A. And this is the one, and like it's always a nice reminder where it's like, oh yeah, I gotta push B.
Yeah, there's like it's random, like the tic-tac-toe board is always on the left-hand
side.
Why is
it? Did they get bored while they were developing the loading screen? And or the attract mode? It's funny. I mean, there's a lot to like here. I mean, I think the core of racing, like you really have to practice and pay attention and understand the controls and the way it works. Knowing that the characters themselves have classes also certainly helps.
Yeah.
But I really liked like just little things I noticed. Like it's funny, like playing this a few years ago and getting into it and finally liking it for the first time. I still don't remember like really picking up on things, but playing it this time, like seeing little like Luigi finishing and doing little animations and stuff, like all of those victory things, getting the champagne at the end of the thing, like all of those things are neat. I liked it. I liked it a lot. I still like it. It's again, like I'm not going to say I fell in love with it, but I at least came to appreciate it a few years back. And now it's like, I like it a lot more than I did. I think honestly, like I go back to this now more than I do 64.
64, yeah, the 64 is weird. A little, it's not as weird, but it's still. My problem with 64 though was I didn't really play a lot of 64 until after all my Double Dash days.
Yeah, that'd be hard to go back to. I think the same reason why this was always hard for me to go back to after 64. But I guess we'll have to wait another year or two to get 64 on the list and find out where that ranks. Before we rank this, is there anything we didn't hit on with Super Mario Kart?
No, I don't. I mentioned the top 4 thing. That's like that is really one of the difficulty spikes in this game, especially with there being 5 races. You really can't you're not allowed to throw one of the 5 out the window like you can in any other Mario game or Mario Kart game.
Well then, Matt, I think it's time we rank Super Mario Kart on the list. This is impossible because it's tough to. I know this is another. Last week when we looked at the list, we were kind of lamenting the placement of some of these, and I know that for you, Double Dash is probably a lot lower than you'd like it to be.
Oh, it's whatever. These are 2 different games at the end of the day.
I agree. Yeah, like I think like my heart says it's a kart racer, so we need to look at Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, and we need to look at Double Dash. But I don't know. I think that's why I kind of brought up the question of Super Mario World. Not that we have that ranked in the list, but like to me, this is like it's just like what contextually in its time, like what type of experience was this? And I think like the idea of having a 2-player racing game, and that's really neat. I did have a lot more fun playing it with you than I did by myself, so I think that goes. And I had a great time playing it alone too. This is tough. Listeners, if you want to follow along, thefreecheese.com/thelist. You can place your bets now.
I didn't realize they were right next to one another. I was going to say, I'm looking at other like racing games, even though they're different. I was like, oh, Burnout 3. I was like, oh, right next to the Sonic and All-Stars.
Oh, yeah, they are, man, yeah. But see,
this is tough.
Then I look at the stuff that's like below those, and like I feel like those are all better than Super Mario Kart. Like I would put Luigi's Mansion above this.
Yeah, I would too.
I would put Double Dash above this, not to like do the direct comparison, but I would, and I think SSX Tricky, NBA Street is above this. I think Glaylancer is above this for me.
I agree. I'm syncing with you.
And the crazy thing is, I feel like I'm reviewing this with higher scores than where we're getting at numerically on the list. But hey, we know that means nothing. Well, let's look a little. So, Windjammers 2 is, another kind of competitive experience. Where do you feel about Super Mario Kart against Windjammers 2?
I think there's more legs in Mario Kart than Windjammers 2. Windjammers 2, is that perfect?
Yeah.
I was going to say, is that perfect? Like 1 hour by yourself, much better with a friend.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. How about Bomberman 93?
Probably in the same place. Like, I think I like this a little bit better. I think the single player offering for Kart is better than 93. Although 93's multiplayer, I think it's better.
93's multiplayer rules. Yeah.
Maybe that's the middle ground right there between those two?
Yeah, below Bomberman, above Windjammers?
Yeah, New 48? New 48, right?
Yeah, that sounds right. I'm good with it.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot because I like looking up. I like X-Men. I think I like X-Men just a little bit more.
Yeah, I do too.
I think we get into Demi-Kids and Mass Effect, and we talked about those other games. I know right below it's Snatcher. That's probably like the outlier, but like I'd rather play this than Costume Quest 2. Probably want to play this more than I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. When you know what you're doing in that game, it's good. Those times you get stuck, it's a little frustrating.
Yeah, but as an experience, I think this is stronger.
Yeah, I think, yeah. In this mess.
Yeah, I don't hate
I'm just riding the wave now. Every week, just ride the wave.
That's all we can do. We won't be doing it next week, because next week we're not ranking a game. Next week, we're just going to talk about Tetris Effect Connected. But we'll be back the week after that to talk about Zone of the Enders. Come back and join us for both of those. And of course, head over to thefreecheese.com. We got all sorts of stuff over there on that website that we do. Check those out. Until then, thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener, for listening. We'll see you next time.